Jeff Schapiro, Richmond Times-Dispatch, joins us. He's been giving us great dispatches, in fact, from Richmond during the course of this trial. Thanks for joining us this morning, Jeff.
Thank you for having me.
So yesterday, the government had their chance to cross-examine Bob McDonnell, and I think a lot of people were looking at this as a critical moment in this trial. What points did the government make, and was it a tough day for the governor?
The governor concluded 2 days of interrogation, primarily, in fact, entirely by Mike Dry, the lead prosecutor. The prosecution took the governor point by point, dollar by dollar, day by day, transaction by transaction through his relationship and dealings with Johnny Williams. Of course, Johnny Williams, the head of the company that manufactures that dietary supplement, Anatablock, and who believed he provided the governor and his family with $177,000 in gifts and goodies in return for the state's support of his product. The governor and Mr. Dry could be downright feisty with each other. The bottom line is that the governor said in his many words that no decisions were made in his administration based on money. His words, no, sir. However, the prosecution emphasizes, and the governor has conceded, that much of what the governor received from Mr. Williams was not disclosed to the people of Virginia. And, of course, this is at the heart of the government's case against the McDonnells, that the governor used Virginia's highly porous ethics law to erect a screen behind which he concealed Mr. Williams' beneficence.
And, well, now, what seems to me to be a critical point, and we sort of touched on this last time we spoke, Mr. Schapiro, is the idea that the government needs to make the case that the governor, through his influence as the governor of the Commonwealth, actually granted favors or performed some sort of benefit for Johnny Williams in exchange for this money. I don't think anybody is denying that money and gifts were transacted here. But the question is, did the government get McDonnell to answer to any of these suggestions that the party at the mansion or other things were, in fact, quid pro quos? Yes,
you are touching on 2 points, and that is, what constitutes an official act? Would a party at the official residence, and that is represented by the government as an official act, a party to promote an Anatablock, various pointers and inquiries the governor may have made regarding possible state research of the product. So this is a crucial element of the case. Quid pro quo, that's another matter. Under the corruption statutes, there is something known as honest services, that there may not be an exact, precise, understood exchange of services for some benefit, that in effect the behavior of a public official represents a violation of honest services. And the instructions to the jury, should this case go to it by the end of the week, the instructions to the jury from Judge James Spencer will be very important. What guidance will the judge provide the jurors, 7 men, 5 women, on how to arrive at a verdict? There are 13 charges against the governor, 12 of them corruption, 1 bank fraud.
Now, a big part of the defense for the governor has been that he and his wife had a very bad relationship. There's no way that the two of them could be conspiring because they barely even spoke. What did the government do to try to break down that narrative?
Well, one of the points that the government pointed out is that over a 22-month period, the governor and Mrs. McDonnell made 18 trips together, went on 18 separate holidays. As soon as the governor was under redirect, in other words, when he was being questioned anew by his attorney, one of them whom is Henry Aspel, the governor was quick to point out that, yes, those were trips. he made with Mrs. McDonald and their family, but only one of those trips was at the couple themselves, and that during that holiday they barely spoke. In fact, spent most of the time reading.
Interesting. Gosh, and of course, a lot of the things that the government, I'm reading some of the testimony from yesterday, they were asking the governor about certain things that either his wife did or his wife said or that other people have said that his wife said. When the governor denies that or says, no, that's just not true, the government's sort of left now because it's not like they can bring Maureen McDonald up on the stand to speak to this. She's decided not to testify.
Well, of course, there is something called the marital privilege. The governor is protected from potentially adverse testimony by his spouse, but one wonders if the so-called privilege is shot in this case. During the governor's lengthy questioning by Mr. Asbill late last week, at no point did Mrs. McDonald's lawyers raise questions or objections about remarks, statements the governor was making under oath about his conversations with his wife.
Wow. Jeff Schapiro is our guest, Richmond Times-Dispatch. He's covering this trial, and you said that you think it might go to the jury by Friday of this week. Have you been able to make any sort of, I know this is a dangerous game, but can you tell how the jury is reacting to some of this stuff? Are they keeping poker-faced? What is your impression?
The jury seems to be very attentive. Judge James Spencer is particularly solicitous of this jury. Keep in mind, we started with 12 jurors and 4 alternates. We are now down to 12 jurors and 1 alternate. If we were to dip below 12, there might be some sticky procedural questions that would have to be worked out. So the judge is determined to press on, get this case to the jury, and get this case out of court. It's conceivable that we could have a verdict by the end of next week.
Wow. All right. Well, and we will certainly hear from you, I hope, Jeff Schapiro, when that happens. Thank you so much for your very good, thorough coverage of this trial.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Jeff Schapiro, Richmond Times-Dispatch. Things heating up down there. It'll be interesting to see when this goes to jury.